Hello everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. We're going to explore some exciting language skills from your student's book, pages 194 and 195. The focus will be on Mega Goal 2.2, specifically Unit 12, titled, What Would You Do? We'll look at the form, meaning, and function of the language involved. Over the next few slides, I'll guide you through the key concepts and activities to help improve your understanding. Let's get started. Now let's look at how to form negative sentences with the future continuous tense. When we want to say that someone will not be doing something in the future, we use the subject followed by will not or the contraction won't, then be, and the verb in the ing form. For example, I will not be graduating or I won't be graduating. Next, we have questions. When forming a question, we start with will, then the subject, then be, and the verb in the ing form. For instance, will you be graduating in 2 months? The short answer for a positive response is yes, I will, and for a negative response, no, I won't. It's important to notice that the future continuous tense is used for actions that will be ongoing at a specific time in the future. For example, in 2 months, I will be graduating, indicates that the graduation process will be happening during that time. Remember, the key form here is be, plus the verb in ing, which helps us talk about future actions that are happening over a period of time. This tense is really useful when we want to emphasize the ongoing nature of an action in the future. So when we talk about the future, especially the future progressive tense, these expressions are really useful. For example, saying in 2 months or in a year helps us pinpoint specific future moments or periods. If I say, in 2 months, I will be working on a new project, it emphasizes what I expect to be doing during that time frame. Similarly, a week from today or at this time tomorrow are great for very specific future points. For instance, a week from today, I will be attending a conference, or at this time tomorrow, I will be traveling to a new city. These expressions help us plan or describe what will be happening at particular moments. Then we have this time tomorrow and on Thursday, which are also useful for talking about scheduled or expected activities. For example, this time tomorrow, I will be finishing my presentation, or on Thursday, I will be meeting with my team. Finally, during the next 3 months refers to a broader period, which is perfect when discussing ongoing activities or plans. For example, during the next 3 months, I will be focusing on developing new skills. All of these expressions connect to the overall idea that the future progressive tense allows us to describe actions that will be ongoing at specific future times or over periods. They help us communicate plans, expectations, or ongoing activities clearly and naturally. So here's an example of how we can use the future progressive tense. I will be flying to Dubai at 9:00 o'clock tomorrow. This tense is great for describing actions that will be happening at a specific time in the future. It emphasizes the ongoing nature of the action, which is useful when talking about plans or scheduled events. Notice how we form it. We use will be plus the verb with an ing ending. This structure helps us communicate that the action will be in progress at a particular moment. In the context of our presentation, understanding the future progressive allows us to talk about future plans clearly and precisely, which is essential for effective communication. Don't phone me at 3:00. I will be sleeping. This means that at that specific time, I will be in the middle of sleeping, which is a good example of the future progressive tense. The future progressive is used to describe an action that will be ongoing at a certain point in the future. So, when I say I will be sleeping, I'm emphasizing that the action will be happening during that time, not just that it will happen at some point. This tense is especially useful when we want to talk about activities that will be in progress in the future, like during plans or scheduled events. And remember, using the future progressive helps us paint a clearer picture of what will be happening at a specific future moment. Let's look at some short answers first. When we want to respond quickly to a yes or no question, we often use short answer plus for yes and short answer for no. For example, if someone asks, will she complete her homework by 8:00 p.m.? A positive answer would be yes, she will, and a negative answer would be no, she won't. Now focusing on the question, by 8:00 p.m. tonight, will she have completed her homework? We're using the future perfect tense here. The key phrase is will have completed, which indicates that the action will be finished before that specific future time. This tense, the future perfect, is used to express that an action will be completed before a certain point in the future. The structure involves will plus have plus the past participle of the main verb, which in this case is completed. For example, she will have finished her homework by 8:00 p.m. It's a way to project ourselves into the future and talk about the completion of an action ahead of a deadline. Remember, have and will are auxiliary words here, helping us form the future perfect tense. This tense is very useful when planning or predicting that something will be done by a specific time. So, in summary, the future perfect helps us emphasize the completion of an action in the future, and it's formed with will have plus the past participle. Now, let's take a look at how we use the future perfect tense in practical situations. On this slide, we see the sentence, I won't have gone to bed by 9 p.m. This is a great example of how we talk about actions that we expect to be completed before a specific point in the future. The key here is the structure. We use will not have or won't have followed by the past participle of the main verb, in this case, gone. This tense helps us express expectations about what will be finished by a certain time. So if I say, I won't have gone to bed by 9 p.m., it means I expect that I will still be awake at that time. It's a way of projecting into the future and setting a deadline for an action. Remember, the future perfect is often used with time expressions like by 9 p.m. or by next week to specify the deadline. This concept ties into our overall theme of planning and predicting future outcomes, which is essential for effective communication and time management. So, when you talk about what will be completed before a certain point, think about using the future perfect tense. It's a very useful tool in both professional and everyday conversations. By Friday, I will have cleaned my room. This is an example of using the future perfect tense, which is great for describing actions that will be completed by a certain point in the future. When I say, I will have cleaned my room by Friday, it shows that the cleaning will be finished before or on that day. The key here is the structure. We'll have plus the past participle of the verb, which in this case is cleaned. This tense helps us plan and set expectations for tasks we aim to complete in the future. Think of it as a way to emphasize the completion of an action within a specific time frame, which is very useful in both professional and personal contexts. So let's look at how we can use the future perfect tense in this context. The sentence here is, I will have studied harder by 11:00 a.m. on Thursday. This tense is really useful when we're talking about an action that will be completed before a specific future time. In this case, it emphasizes that by the time we reach 11:00 a.m. on Thursday, I will have finished studying harder. It's a way to highlight the completion of an action in the future, giving a sense of achievement or progress. Remember, the key points are that the future perfect uses will have plus the past participle of the main verb, which is studied here. And it's all about setting a deadline for when the action will be done. This concept is really important for planning and setting clear goals, especially when we want to track our progress toward a deadline. So, in the overall theme of effective time management, mastering the future perfect helps us visualize what we will have accomplished by a certain point in time. By 6 a.m., I will have completed the first round of preparations, so I can start the day with a clear plan. By 2030, we will have achieved most of our long-term goals, which is really exciting to think about. By next weekend, I will have finished my current project, giving me some well-deserved free time. By then, I'll have gained a lot of experience, and I'll be ready to take on new challenges. By November, we will have launched the new product line, marking a major milestone for the company. By the end of this month, I will have wrapped up all outstanding tasks, so I can start fresh in December. And before I finish this presentation, I'll have clearly outlined our next steps to ensure everyone is aligned. These expressions, by a certain time really help us communicate deadlines and future achievements clearly and effectively. Let's look at this question. Did Nora used to eat chocolate a lot? Now, when we answer negatively, we say, Nora didn't used to eat chocolate a lot. And if we want to express the positive, we say, Nora used to eat chocolate a lot. Notice that both answers use the phrase used to, which is very useful for talking about past habits. When we say used to, we're referring to something that happened regularly in the past but doesn't happen anymore. For example, we use used to plus infinitive to describe these habitual actions. So, if I want to say I played football every weekend when I was a child, I'd say, I used to play football. In short, used to helps us talk about past routines or states that are no longer true now. It's a simple way to share our past experiences or habits clearly. Now, let's look at an example to understand how we use used to. Today, people use washing machines to do their laundry. But in the old days, women used to wash their dirty clothes by hand. This shows how habits and technology have changed over time. Now, let's examine the table. It shows different pronouns, I, you, he, she, it, we, they. And for each, it demonstrates how we say used to with a verb like play tennis. So, for example, I used to play tennis, you used to play tennis, and so on. Notice that the positive form is straightforward. It's just the subject plus used to and the base verb. This is a key point because it helps us talk about past habits or routines that no longer happen now. Understanding this pattern is important as we learn to describe past regular activities clearly and correctly. Now let's look at how we form negative sentences using didn't used to. For example, in the past, people didn't used to travel by car and plane, but nowadays they do. In the table, you see the pronouns I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. When making a negative sentence with these, we use didn't used to followed by the base verb. For instance, I didn't used to play tennis, or they didn't used to go shopping every weekend. The key point here is that we omit the d in used after didn't, which makes it a bit different from the affirmative form. This structure is very useful when you want to talk about habits or routines in the past that no longer happen now. It helps us clearly express what used to be true but isn't anymore. Connecting this to our overall theme, understanding how to form and use didn't used to allows us to describe changes over time in people's behaviors and routines, which is a vital part of telling past stories effectively. No, they didn't. Did people used to use calculators to make calculations? For example, some might think yes, but actually no, they didn't. Now, let's look at another common question. Did people used to travel by horse carriages? Here's a table showing how we form these questions with different subjects. We use did for past tense questions, and used to talk about habits or routines in the past. So, for example, with I, we say, did I used to play tennis? And for you, it's did you used to play tennis? The same pattern applies for he, she, it, we, and they. Remember, this question form is very useful when we want to ask about past habits or routines. And it's a key part of understanding how to talk about the past in English. So, whenever you're asking about something people did regularly in the past, this is the structure to use. Now let's look at some key points about the modal be and how we use it in different forms. First, you'll notice the words modal, be, and the forms am, is, and are. These are fundamental when forming sentences with be. For negatives, remember to add not after be, and if you're talking about something that used to happen regularly, use used to along with be. For example, he is used to living alone. This means that living alone has become a habit or something he's comfortable with now. When we talk about used to, it can be followed by a gerund or a noun, and it's used to discuss something that has become familiar or habitual over time. The structure be used to is important because it helps express that a person or thing is accustomed to a situation or activity. This is a very useful way to describe routines or habits, especially in everyday conversations. So the main takeaway here is that be and its forms are essential in expressing states, habits, and familiarity, especially when combined with used to. This helps us communicate changes over time and current comfort levels with various situations. Today, I want to share a couple of examples that illustrate how we use the phrase, was going to talk about plans or predictions in the past. First, I was going to visit my aunt when I went to Riyadh. However, she had already gone to Dubai for the summer, so I didn't get to see her. This shows how was going to expresses a plan that didn't happen because of some change or unexpected event. Second, we were going to move to Riyadh next year, but then we were offered better jobs here. So we decided not to move. This example highlights how was going to can also be used to talk about plans that were changed due to new opportunities. Remember, was we're going to is useful for talking about past plans or predictions that didn't come true. It helps us explain what we expected or intended to do, but circumstances led us to a different outcome. This connects to the overall theme of understanding how to talk about past intentions and plans in English.